You know that feeling when you wish you had a replay button for a conversation just to prove what was actually said? Well, we're going to dive into a powerful technique from the world of professional documentation that basically does just that. And it's not just for work, it's for pretty much any disagreement you can think of. It's all about using radical clarity to stop conflict before it even has a chance to start. I mean, we've all been there, right? That completely frustrating argument over what really went down. Who said what? What was the plan? These fights happen for one simple reason. We're relying on the most unreliable narrator in the world, our own memory. And this really gets to the core of the problem. On one side, you've got memory. It fades, it's totally subjective, and let's be honest, it's always clouded by our emotions. But on the other side, you've got evidence. It's permanent, it's objective, and it is factual. One of these creates arguments, the other one ends them. So what's the solution? Well, this quote just says it all. The real goal isn't just getting the job done. It's about creating a record of the work that is so clear, so complete, that it doesn't need anyone, not even you, to stand there and defend it. It becomes its own silent, unshakable witness. This is what's called self-standing documentation. So clear just means anyone can understand it. Organized means the story it tells makes sense and you can follow it from A to B. And objective, well, that's the big one. It means it's totally free of opinion or emotion or blame. It's a record, not a novel. Okay, so the goal is to create this perfect record. But how do you actually do that? How do you create something that people just can't argue with? Well, it's actually not as complicated as it sounds. There's a pretty simple three-part framework that can turn any messy situation into solid proof. So let's get into what we're calling the anatomy of proof. We're going to walk through the three essential rules for building evidence that is absolutely unshakable. So it all boils down to these three non-negotiable rules. First, you have to timestamp everything, locking it to a specific moment in time. Second, you organize it intentionally, so there's a clear, logical path. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part, you label, you don't interpret. You just describe what you see. Each step builds on the last to create a record that's basically bulletproof. All right, first up, timestamps. Think of a timestamp like an anchor. It locks a photo or a note or any file to a specific, unchangeable moment. This creates a concrete timeline that nobody can argue with. You know, if you have a dispute with a landlord, a timestamped photo of a leak is undeniable proof of when you told them about it. It's the absolute foundation of a verifiable story. Okay, next up is organization. And this is so key. This isn't about being tidy for the sake of it, it's about traceability. Without a logical structure, all you have is a big mess of information. But when you organize it by date or by location, whatever makes sense, you turn that chaos into a clear path, like a trail of breadcrumbs that anyone can follow from start to finish. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Just look at the difference here. Saying something like damage from neglect isn't a fact, it's an interpretation. You're assigning blame. But saying area of concern, that's a neutral observation. Same thing with someone tried to hide this. That's a story. The objective version is simply condition is unclear. The lesson here is huge. Stick to what you can see, not what you think it means. So following these rules requires a very specific mindset. It's not just about what you do, it's about the role you decide to play. When you're the one creating the record, you have one and only one job. Your job is not to be the judge, it's not to be the jury. The second you assign blame, you're not a neutral observer anymore. You've just introduced your own bias and your entire record suddenly becomes about your opinion, not the facts on the ground. So, if you're not the judge, what are you? Well, your only job is this, to be a mirror. Your role is simply to record the condition of things exactly as they are. That's it. You are a human camera, just capturing reality without adding any commentary. All right, let's bring this all together. Why does this disciplined approach to documentation matter so much, especially if you're not, inspecting a construction site? Because the exact same principles that solve disputes at work can solve them just about everywhere else. Because at the end of the day, almost every single dispute, at work, at home, you name it, they all come from the same place. They grow in the gray areas, in the unspoken assumptions, they thrive in ambiguity. And this kind of radical clarity, it's the antidote. When you create a clear, shared, factual foundation, something really amazing happens. This isn't about winning an argument anymore. It's about preventing the argument from ever starting in the first place. It protects everyone involved and builds a real foundation of trust, all through total transparency. And it all comes down to this one powerful idea. When you do the work up front, when you are crystal clear, organized, and objective, the record you create just can't be torn down. And like it says here, when the documentation is solid, the truth doesn't need a defender. It just speaks for itself. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Whether it's how you communicate in your emails, how you plan projects with your team, or even just how you talk about expectations with your family, what's one area of your life where a little more of this solid documentation could make all the difference?